Hello, everyone. My name is Perez-Carreno, and welcome to the Web Talk Show. Today, we've got Al Schuster and Heather Johnson from Sample Finder. Welcome, Al. Welcome, Heather. How are you?
Doing good.
Great, thanks. Excited to be here.
No, my pleasure. I'm really happy to hear about Sample Finder. But before that, let's talk a little bit about who you are and how this came along, because the audience will want to know why we're talking about Sample Finder today.
Why don't I jump in first? My name's Al Schuster. I'm the president and owner of Polaris Brand Promotions. We're a 9-year-old experiential marketing and promotional staffing agency. And I'm one of the two co-founders, along with Heather, of Sample Finder, a brand new app that's going to share experiential events and like samplings and things like that directly with consumers and reward them through prizes and contests for engaging with the app.
Very interesting. So tell me, what does experiential brand activation mean?
So, yeah, it all falls under the umbrella of experiential marketing, and it is the word is in the name experience, but what that actually means is that you're providing experiences as a brand for the people who are interested in your brand or products or services to experience them or experience the vibe that you want to give out as a company. So you might create an experience that is super fun and you're basically saying, we're a fun company. Or you might do something that's very complex and it's like, if you're able to experience this, our product is very complex and you're one of a very specific target audience. So it's knowing who your target audience is and then creating experiences for them. And our agency does everything from the experiences of maybe trying a product before you get to buy it and learning about what that product is from a person who is standing right there. So it's not just reading on your phone, you're getting the experience of a professional in front of you. Or it could be a product launch that is a bigger deal. It could be a festival. It could be almost anything as long as it's an experience.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack there. What types of brands do these sort of activations? Is it mostly bigger, major type businesses? Do small businesses also do this sort of thing?
In terms of size, our agency works with everything from startup brands that are new to market all the way up to national and international brands where we've done campaigns in multiple markets simultaneously. Um, as for the types of brands, I'd have to say we've worked, primarily I would say in the alcoholic beverage and the consumer packaged goods spaces, but anywhere where our clients need to promote their products and services directly to like consumers or to end users, maybe in like a B2B kind of environment, we'll service all of them.
Very interesting. While you were talking, Heather, about the different ways for people to interact with the brand or make it fun, I immediately thought of Chet Holmes and how he talks about like the events that were just regular industry events that were very boring, and then he did all these exciting different activities with the lab coats and things like that for people to really enjoy. And for people
Mhm.
who don't know who Chet Holmes is, he wrote The Ultimate Sales Machine, many other things, but that I remember reading that, and it was so interesting to see how something so out of the box can really make that brand outperform the other ones in that event. Is that the sort of thing that we're talking about?
Yeah, it could absolutely be that. I mean, the experience itself might not be directly tied to what the product is.
Hmm.
For example, we go to a lot of trade shows in our industry. We've been to Expo West, we've been to Bar Convent Brooklyn, and one of the booths, one of the alcoholic beverages booth at Bar Convent Brooklyn had a tarot card reading set up. And it was because the vibe of their whole thing was a little bit in that world. So it could really be anything with your target audience. And then one thing with the names, because our agency, Polaris Brand Promotions, has no minimums, we work with smaller brands too to allow them the opportunity at a lower scale to experience this. And then our app, Sample Finder, which I know we're going to get to, it also helps like smaller businesses as well. So we're really for everybody. Um, the larger brands will have more money to maybe do a little bit more, but it doesn't mean you can't connect with your target audience, even if you're small.
That makes sense. And that's where my question was going. So if I'm a small business or a startup, or I don't know, maybe I have business that had been around for a long time, maybe I have 50 employees or whatever, and I'm thinking about getting out there and maybe doing an event, or you talked about festivals. For me as a business owner, that might be too abstract. Like, how am I going to get into a festival? What does my business that sells nuts, like drill bits or whatever,
Hmm.
do in a festival and things like that? So how does someone get into these? What this? How does one even know to approach a company like Polaris Brand to do something like this?
I'd have to say, obviously just the key thing is knowing your target audience. Who is your consumer and, what are you selling and how can you engage with them? And then really picking the right type of venue, the right atmosphere, things like that. Like, a lot of times our clients will, hire us to just do, events where, it's a large public space or space with a lot of like foot traffic or things like that. But also, they have come to us with like outside the box ideas. Like, we were working with a potential client on doing something where we were going around in like a custom fabricated, like drivable, kind of like setup, something you could
Mm-hmm.
put in the back of the truck, where it could go around to different, festivals and activations. And that was a, kind of a service that was, almost anyone could use. So really just, understanding the event itself, who is like the target demographic, who are the attendees that are going to be going there, just to make sure you find that right, like synergy and alignment, in order to maximize your return by hitting that right audience.
Interesting. You talk about activation, and I know in the space, very common term. What does activation mean for someone who has no idea about brand marketing or positioning?
Event. So if you really bring it all the way back, everything that we do is creating um, unforgettable experiences and events for our brands. So if you think about an activation as an event, it's you're creating a little mini event. It could be very small. It could be, for your example, we have set up in like an Ace Hardware. So we could be set up right there and showing how to use this, or maybe understanding the different types of bolts, or if it's food, the different flavors, and you have somebody there speaking to it. So quite often, the events that we work with, we have close to 10,000 brand ambassadors nationwide. So those brand ambassadors are on site as the one-on-one personal touch for your company to be able to maybe say the things you can't say in just a regular ad, or through an influencer. It's somebody who can answer your questions on the spot because we train them to become professionals in your industry. So it's not like we're out there like, oh, I'm just a brand ambassador. We train our brand ambassadors to go out and be like, I'm part of this team and I know how to explain these things to you and give the information directly from the brand to the consumer, through a trained, we can call them brand ambassador or event staff if it's an event, um, activation models, all of those types of like people are under our talent, and then they create the activation for you. So we say the term activation because it is sort of like you're activating in new markets maybe, or
Mm.
existing markets, to connect with your target audience. But it is an event that you're setting up.
Okay. So like the ninja guy at Costco showing off the blenders or whatever,
Yep.
Hmm.
that's the type of okay, okay,
That would
that makes
technically be
sense.
an activation.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I recall going to one of these like wine places that they sell all sorts. I don't want to say the name, but they had a booth for a bourbon, right? Somebody had a desk with a bourbon, and I think I seem to recall there was somebody who was evidently from the brand, but then also there was someone else with them
Hmm.
and sort of and assisting with the and a little more professional touch kind of deal. So is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
Yes, exactly that.
Interesting, very interesting. So does this? I know you work in certain industries, but would it apply to any industry? Just it depends on who's servicing it.
Yeah, most of we started with like 90% of what we do being alcohol, and then we've expanded because there's non-alcoholic brands, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
food and beverage, and then there's services. We've set up at trade shows to walk people through very technical services. For example, we could be lead source, lead helpers. You mentioned the person who's helping, local help. Sometimes it's really hard to do a lot of activations or talk to a lot of crowd people at the same time. And you
Hmm.
have an extra hand just to help. It could be they jump in as needed. Maybe they go and talk about your brand while you're doing a special sampling, or maybe it's the opposite. They're preparing you for the sampling while you're talking. Each company is different. That's why we're super customizable. And then all of those activations we do are now with our app going to be promoted to the world.
Okay, so let's talk about the app. I want to know what Sample Finder does and how it can help businesses, and what it actually does, first of all, but because it seems to be something that sort of bridges a gap that is there. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I came up with the concept of Sample Finder while I was actually doing an activation. It was a kind of a really funky layout store with like three entrances, and it was split over two levels. And I was put in a very like high traffic part of the store, but I kind of realized that, I really wasn't getting a lot of the traffic in the store. Like people would walk in, they would go to their, whatever aisle they wanted to go to, pick up their items, they pay for it and leave, and they would not pass me at all. And I was getting set up for my event. I was a little annoyed. I'm like, I really wish there was a way to promote these sampling events.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes they are promoted. The stores will have like a dry erase board or a chalkboard with like, the upcoming tasting schedule. Sometimes our clients themselves will put it out in their social media, like stop by, the store from 4 to 7 on a Friday and try our product. But there's no real like one centralized hub. A lot of times our clients will rely on like the natural foot traffic of the venue,
Hmm.
of the people that are engaging, with brands at that space being the store already because they're going in to buy it. We're usually set up, sometimes near where the product aisle is, so you're getting the people who are looking to purchase that. So I kind of realized like it would be not only great to have you know, uh, uh, like an app to share this, but also be able to like, incentivize people to come back out into stores. Like we launched under the hashtag of, or launching under the hashtag of Save Retail in our kind of our campaign, because so many people are now, going just doing e-commerce and doing grocery delivery and all sorts of delivery. It really limits, the consumer's ability to choose. It, kind of kills that, that retail experience of having, products you can look at an aisle and see different products of different prices, and you can look at the boxes and things. And really, a lot of the products that are in like, the e-commerce platforms, the ones at the top of the search results are the ones that they want you to see. So
Hmm.
you're not looking at all the options at once. The option you actually would choose would probably be on the second or third, page of results or something like that. So we're really building Sample Finder to, kind of encourage consumers to get back out into stores. It will help the brands because it'll give additional promotion and exposure to their brands during and really before the activation itself. And then for stores, it'll help get traffic back into their retail establishments and may in fact pull consumers that may, do their shopping at a different store into the store where the demo's happening and do like maybe like their entire weekly shopping there just because the demo and
Right.
activation, something cool and fun is going to be there.
That makes a lot of sense. So while you were talking, I don't know if you saw my insight. Look, I
Yeah.
understood why you were saying sample finder. Okay, so you're finding sample stores that are doing demos or samples. That's amazing. I would love that because you, especially if you know the product, because it like regardless, we'll talk about not knowing the product, but if let's say there's a product that I'm sort of interested in, but I've never seen it, and I don't know exactly how it works, or I don't know if I would really like it, and I want to know more, but I feel I'm very far from the brand, and not all brands are very social media oriented, and so having something like that, oh, that's the one I wanted. Let me just go to that store, like you were saying, see the demo, see what this is about, and then from there it goes right. And so I can see it definitely in the beverage space, but also like we were talking like the knife space or the kitchen appliance or whatever. Maybe I wanted to see if those things really work. And now I see, oh, they're going to have it at the store. Let me go. And like you said, I'll just do my shopping there because I'm there already. Most people are not necessarily tied to a store because they absolutely love it. It's just for convenience or they already know the layout. But if you have another reason to bring them in, that's very neat. How does it work in terms of what do I see in the app? Do I just see everything? Does it filter? Do I have my categories that it knows that I like, or how's that experience?
Yeah, you're describing it a little bit. Yes, so it will be open to obviously all events that we work with our promo staffing agency. We're open to working with other promo staffing agencies for their events. We're open to working with stores and putting their events in there. And then once those events are in there, the user logs on, they can search if they would like to. They can search by radius, by category, by date, see what's in their area. As they move around, the map updates with them and they can see little pins on the map. Click, see what it is. You can favorite it. So when you favorite a brand, you'll be able to, first of all, always remember what it was, because sometimes people try samples
Yes.
and then they're like, I don't know what I just tried, but I loved it. I wish I remembered. I wish I took a photo. Well, now it's in your app and it's in your history. So that helps on that brand loyalty end. And you also will be able to add it to your calendar so that if you know that you're going to be in a certain place this weekend, you'll be like, okay, from 12 to 2, I need to make sure I'm doing my grocery shopping at this place so that I can try this new chocolate. That's definitely one way that it will work. And then those brands will always be in there for you to kind of just scroll through and see and read descriptions of what it is, see when there's upcoming events, if there are any in your area. And another thing is that once you do go to the event, you can earn rewards just for checking in. You earn rewards for leaving a review. So say you tried it, you love it so much, and you want to tell the brand right now, I love it and I'm switching and I'm always going to use yours. You can leave a 5-star review. You can say what you loved best about it. There's a little text field that you can send to the brand. Now we'll moderate it, of course, but that way the brand is also getting more ROI and more data and more feedback from all of this campaigns that they're putting out there with, fingers crossed people show up. Well, this app will make sure, hopefully people will show up. They'll leave reviews for you. You can maybe build more, well, you'll be building more brand awareness, of course, but brand loyalty at the same time.
Very neat. Yeah, I can definitely see the advantage of it. I want to, and also like there's people who go garage sale hunting, right? And like what are these estate sale hunting and things like that, just for the fun of it, right? Look, yeah. They like these mini activities, mini adventures, and I think there's a big market for this as well in the terms of like, oh, what are we gonna do today? Oh, let's go find some samples. Yeah. And like just go to places that are having samples or demos or things like that, because it's actually fun. I remember going to sidetrack, sorry, but we were in the Kent County Fair, and they had this guy doing the wipe, ShamWow or something like that. Oh, yeah, they were doing the actual thing that you saw on TV. Like he had the headset and he was talking, he was doing all the demos. It was so fun to watch it in real life. Yeah. And I don't really remember the name. So because of that, right? So great as a tool to find demos or things, to just go and browse and just have that experience, that human experience that e-commerce doesn't give you. I think it's excellent. And then obviously it comes with everything downstream, but that's really neat.
Yeah, thank you. We're really excited about it. I loved the idea when Al told me about it, and we both, like, he was at an activation. I still go out and do activations. We've been doing them for years. I remember I used to post on my social media like, hey, I'm going to be at this place at this time. Come and stop by. And that is so minimal, but I always wanted an app like this. So when Al came up with the concept, I was like, that's it. That's perfect. Let's do this, because I know our brand ambassadors will be excited. And I know, and you can see immediately the value that it brings to the brands, to the stores. It's exciting.
And you touched on something very important. Many brands don't have a social presence. They might have their networks, but they're not using them properly. They're not posting things that people relate to. And so even if they're posting a lot, maybe they don't have good traction on social, which is what you need nowadays. Like that's the way you get a lot of traffic,
with
right?
the algorithm, that's a whole other challenge.
and so if if you're very good at content, like some influencers are, then great, because you get a lot of traffic. So if an influencer talks about your brand, that's great because people see it, etc. This is very helpful, I think, looking at it from the perspective of, let's say this brand wants to put some samples in a store, right, or do a demo at an expo or whatever. People don't know about it, and if they share it on their socials, people won't know about it either because they're not active on social. So now they have to rely on a third-party influencer or whatever. But with this, as people start using it for many things, it becomes a sort of hub, right? Which I guess, Al, that was the purpose of it. And so this hub means there's traffic to it. And so people who don't have their own following can take advantage of that or get a gain from that hub having that community that's already looking. And so it gives them access to immediately, like, hey, I'm doing a demo or things like that, get people into the door.
Yeah.
Very nice.
One of the interesting things about our app is a couple of things, actually. First of all, to touch on your points, we are not giving preferential treatment to any sampling events. How the app is going to work is, on kind of the home screen, it's going to show you the events that are happening the closest to you and the soonest in time, kind of in that order. So, if you're a startup little, like cola brand, you're going to get results the same as like, a major soda supplier would, just because you happen to be closer to that event, because that event is occurring closer to you. So that's really how we're going to kind of put the brands on equal footing. Now, we may have like, little pop-up advertisements and, kind of specialized marketing campaigns, but as for actually finding the events themselves, it's very much evening the playing field. So, those startup brands will have just as much as exposure as the major ones.
Excellent. That's sort of how TikTok works. Many people don't understand this, but it's the way the algorithm works is very complex, of course, but it doesn't matter if you have a 5 million follower audience or a 2-person audience. Your post, if it resonates with an audience, will get boosted. So you can have an account with 5 followers and get 1 million views, whereas you can have that 5 million account and have 1,000 views, right? Because the post itself didn't resonate with the audience. So it's that idea of making the audience tell you if it's actually good. So I really like that you're doing that, where it's close to the person, so it's actually relevant to the person, and thus that's what they should see, not just the big brand because they're the big brand and had the money to do it, because then the small one never gets access, right?
Right.
That's really neat. And then you just had a debut at CES, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How was that? Tell us about it.
I would say, Heather, I'd love to, obviously, hear your perspective as well. It is interesting. It was, we were in Eureka Park, which is kind of like the startup area. As I said before we started recording, it's very different from, like being an exhibitor versus being an attendee. Definitely a lot of interest, definitely a lot of traffic to our booth. It was good. We did a little bit of pre-show promotion that, kind of helped to get some people to stop by. But overall, I kind of think that CES, it is what you make of it. For events like that, like you really need to do that, that pre-show promotion and really, find ways to, again, resonate with your audience, having a booth there. Heather, what about you?
Yeah, it was interesting. So I had never been. And so I did get to walk around a little bit and see what else was there and then come and see what we were doing. And Eureka Park was a very fun place to be. There were so many people excited about their ideas. And so we were excited to share ours too. One thing that we did to help differentiate us from the surrounding area was because we are a brand activation promoting app, and often those brand activations are sampling, we set up a sample event, what it would look like in a store at our booth, so that people walking by could see, like, we had sample cups, we had it all set up, we had our brand ambassador, amazing brand ambassador, handing them out and engaging, and Al and I would be talking to somebody and being like, this is exactly the type of activation. So it was really cool in that space to be able to have that opportunity to share what we do in that way. But yeah, being there was amazing. It was very big, And, it was, we were all set up talking about engaging with people and hitting your target audience and having one-on-one conversations. And right down the aisle are some robots who are also trying to engage. It was really interesting. The dynamic was all over the place, at least in Eureka Park, which was so exciting to be a part of.
That's so great that you went there. What is, for listeners and for myself, what is Eureka Park versus like the regular CES venue, I guess?
It's like the startup area.
Okay.
I think like, you have to be a new concept. You need to be approved. But it's kind of like for new products and services coming to market. Kind of, I guess, as a way to, have everyone, together, that would have similar, processes for launching and kind of be in that same like kind of that same stage of their startup and to give a little bit more kind of attention and buzz to them.
Interesting. Now, going back to Sample Finder, if I am a brand and or a store or either really, and I'm gonna do an event, could I reach out to Sample Finder and say, hey, I'm gonna have an event, even if we're not part of your companies that you're promoting, or is that something coming down the line, or is that not coming down the line? Like what's your take on giving access to something like this to people who might not be under the main umbrella, I guess?
Well, we're going to be open to everybody, um, at least if you fit into like kind of what our criteria would be, which is like, does your event, I mean, you don't have to give out samples, but that's kind of the first question.
Yeah.
Or are you offering a freebie? Or is it, at the very least, is it some sort of discount? Are you maybe doing a demonstration of some sort? So we would need it to sort of be in that. We're not going to be like, say a bar approaches and they're having happy hours and they're
Hmm.
like, oh, well, let's put your happy hour on there. It's like, well, okay,
Mm,
but unless you are giving out something free, a sample at your happy hour, we're not going to put things on here that people would then have to further pay money for.
right.
So that would be number one. And yeah, number two, we would talk to us, the co-founders, and figure out how we would do that, make a plan for how much lead time we need and all of the details ahead of time.
Interesting. Yeah. So the reason I ask is there's a lot of really good small businesses, specifically that you see like in farmers market or things like that,
Yeah.
right? That they're doing amazing stuff and they're trying to figure out how to get out there. And of course, they go to these places and they'll do some do demos and things like that at those farmer markets and other venues and in concerts and festivals and things like that. But just thinking that would be really neat if they could use something like this, be like, hey, we are going to do a demo, we're actually going to give out samples, we want people to taste it, we want people to try it, we want people to feel it or whatever. They're going to get free stuff, etc. But again, they maybe don't have the reach. So something like this, I mean, I do see it like they would love this.
Yeah, and to Heather's point, is like you definitely do want, brands to kind of meet one of the criterion of like giving out a sample,
Hmm.
along with a like a discount and or like an item of merch or swag.
Hmm.
You can get creative while still falling in that. Even if you maybe provide a service or something, you can show a demonstration and give away like an item of value, like a promotional, product or something that's branded. So yeah, I mean, even in your farmers market example, it's like, you could, if you're a new vendor, like maybe give out free t-shirts or have fun with it and be like one free grape sample for every customer. So you can play around and be a little inventive, but we don't want to stray away. And that's one big thing we talk about in our deck is, we're not just another discount app or a
Hmm.
coupon app. This is all about like really driving consumers out to physical spaces and kind of, adding value to that in-store experience as opposed to just the, kind of the pain that it can be to like drive to a store, park, have to navigate the aisles, and the consumers really add something back fun in that makes that experience really exciting, even if it's a little thing like a sample.
Yeah, and on
Yes.
that note, a small business, they're doing something like that. If you reach out to us. We're launching later this year and we would love to hear from you. But yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be that big. Like people get excited over very small things because when they're grocery shopping, something that's out of the new, um, or if it's not grocery shopping, if it's you're just going and you're walking down the mall and all of a sudden there's a setup, from a small business who's, they sell candles, but now here they are giving out little free, a box of matches. Like, just that's a random example, but as long as it's something, it helps you too. If you are giving out something that has your
Of course.
logo on it, now it's in the store. It helps you being on our app because your logo and your description of what your company does and your products is going to be on the app before the consumer maybe even shows up. They're still
Hmm.
going to read and they're still going to see everything that you're doing. Maybe they're not there this time, but next time, or maybe they'll remember your store and be like, I've never been in this store before, but
Hmm.
one time they did an event and now I'm a loyal customer. So many ways to play this.
Yes. Excellent. I really like the idea. Congrats, by the way. I think there's a big need for it. And as people start using it, that's the whole thing, right? So as you get critical mass of users, it becomes so much more powerful because then people start sharing about it and they're like, oh, this is where I find the samples and things like that. But I want to use it for one, because I do like watching the demos and getting samples, like even at the supermarket or Costco or whatever. When they have those, we've been I don't want to say victims of it, but like we've been like, how you're walking down, it's like, oh, look. And then we try it, or the girls try something new and they're like, oh, I want it. And so they get it. And now
Mm.
we buy that thing because it was good and they let us try it beforehand and sort of reduce the barrier to entry. And then some of those even like have like coupon. Oh, yeah, get it. And you'll get this 2 for 1 or something. So I
Yep.
really like where you're going with this. If someone, we talked about like someone wants to just promote an event, right? Good. But if someone actually wants to have a company like yours, Polaris, be help them promote their brand and things like that and do the whole picture, what would they typically do? What's the steps they would follow to reach out to you or to your company to start to understand what's that process look like and if there's a fit, etc.?
They can go to our website, polarisbrandpromotions.com, and reach out through one of the forms on our site or give us a call, and we'll be happy to sit down and go through our service guide and explain, kind of what we have to offer and what differentiates us from other agencies that are out there. And kind of go from there, really identify what their needs are and, discuss, what their program looks like. And, then we're off to the races.
Okay. If I am a company and I'm interested in all this, but I have no idea how to navigate. I don't know if I'm going to fit into a festival. I don't know if I'm going to fit into a store. I do know my ICP, right? I know who my clients are, but up to that. So can I still do something? Will a company like yours assist in figuring that part out? Or do I have to do a bunch of research first?
Well, you can always do research too, but we pride ourselves on being experts in the industry, and we are willing to sit down and have a meeting with you and talk and bounce ideas off. One of our core values is to be unique and to try new things, and so we encourage other people to follow in that with that, and we will help. We will also help once you are getting into those stores and help with the scheduling and all of the back end work, which is daunting, but we have a team that does it and we're very good at it. So we can help on that level too, kind of take some of the worry and work off of your plate when you're trying to be like, okay, I want to do all of these events. I want to do a whole campaign. How do
Hmm.
I start?
Yes.
Yes, talk to us. Even if you start small, like I said, no minimums. So if you are like, I just want to do 1 to 2 stores and see what it's like, that's fine. If you're like, okay, now I want to put 1 to 2 events on Sample Finder, see what that's like, that's fine too. We will figure it out for you. We can work with you. We help a lot of our brands, small businesses grow into new markets.
Mm.
They're on the East Coast and now they're like, I want to, you know what? We're gonna try to take on the West Coast. We're nationwide. Okay. We already have all the training materials ready to go. We've already been experienced with you. We can help you now grow. Or you're in one city only and you're like, I need to figure this out. We can help you call the stores and see if it's something that they do. So yeah, we partner with our brands. We care deeply about them. And then that's why Sample Finder came to life. We care deeply about them. We want you to be seen. So the whole idea is to help now that you're doing these experiential marketing campaigns, what we call them, no matter what they are. we want to now help you drive traffic to them. We want to help your relationship with the store. You will, as a brand, will want to have a relationship with whoever your retailers are. Well, now you're showing them that you're working hard to get the product off the shelf. They
Mhm.
put it on the shelf, now you're getting it moving, and the whole thing, it's all tied together.
That's really exciting. I know a lot of people maybe can make products or food, consumables, etc. But some of them started direct to consumer, right? Maybe
Mhm.
they started doing e-com
Yeah.
or they started selling at a little booth or whatever, and they've tried the idea in their minds of maybe I can put it in the store. But again, that seems very daunting. What do people do in that? Like, what's the next step there? Do they talk to a company like yours, or what's the avenue to like start understanding that landscape and be okay? So, do I need a distributor, or how does that work to be able to go into? There's some people that don't even know how to get into the store.
One thing I'd suggest doing is, talking with the people at shows like Natural Products Expo West or Sweets and Snacks and, exhibiting there because that's where you're going to find a lot of different, distributors walking the floor trying to find new brands as well as stores are looking to get into them. We don't really work, too closely in the relationship between the supplier and kind of the distributor and the store outside of making sure that the demo events themselves are scheduled. But a lot of times we've been to these shows, Heather and I have been to a number of them, and they're like, oh well, we just got into this retail or we just launched on Amazon and we're looking for distributors or distribution. And we've even gone to a lot of alcoholic beverage themed shows and like, oh, we're an Italian wine or like some other country, and they're like, we're looking for distributors in the US. So a lot of time the solution to that problem is to go and exhibit and share with the target audience, which is the attendees of those shows.
That's a great tip. Just visiting those events because that's where like the scouts, if you will, will be
Yeah.
as well.
Yes.
That's interesting because again, very daunting to think, oh, I'm going to reach out to this distribution company. Like, who do I talk to, right? But that's a great tip. Going to those events in your particular industry, and then from there maybe finding who those people are
But yeah,
that can
they're
get you
walking
there.
around. They're walking around. They also want to hear about your product in depth. So
Hmm.
that's one area where then our agency would come into play, where we could provide a brand ambassador so that, when you're a small company, it's the owners of the company on site, but they also need to have the conversation. So we understand the issue of, okay, I'm in Las Vegas now, and I need to also like talk to the distributors, but also represent my brand well, and also give out samples, and also make sure I don't miss anybody. If you hire local help through our agency, we highly recommend that. It's worth it so that they can be doing all of the engagement and the fun stuff and making it really fun
Mm,
while passing off anybody who's ready to have that conversation. We want you in your store. I want to hear more. The brand ambassador can be like, "Oh, well, president of the company's right here. Why don't you guys
right.
sit down and have a conversation?" And then the brand ambassador goes back and continues and drives more
Mm,
people in, attracts them.
hmm.
Now they're seeing that these distributors walking around are seeing that the conversations are happening and that you're excited and you're selling. You might be a good company to work with. Yeah, these short
That's
shows especially. It is daunting to reach out, but
yeah.
put your best self forward and it will work.
That's very interesting. That's true because if you have brand ambassadors, and that they're good at doing that, they're used to. They have the energy,
Yeah.
right? An owner will know everything about the company, but some of them are outgoing, some are not.
Yeah.
Some need introductions, right? They're not good at the breaking, right? But if you have that brand ambassador doing that outreach for you, then bring people in like, hey, here you go. Then that's where they open up.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. And so, what is a brand ambassador? Again, for anyone who doesn't have no idea about this industry, what does a brand ambassador do? Are they part of a company? Are they a third party? Are they local? Are they where are they?
A brand ambassador is anyone who promotes a product or service on behalf of a company. Um, it can either be an internal staff member who has that title or that role. In our case, it is an independent contractor that we hire to go out and represent the brands directly to consumers.
Okay, and then you mentioned they could be local. So if I needed someone here, there could potentially be someone in this area that can do that, and I don't have to go
Yes.
look far.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have 9,600 now brand ambassadors in our nationwide database. A lot of them concentrated around like major metro markets.
Hmm.
So yeah, that we always want to try to hire local to save our clients like travel cost and things like that. And we do have an amazing pool of talent across the country.
That's amazing. I didn't know that was a thing. So I can hire someone to go to our event or to our booth in an event and do this whole experience, and they're gonna
No
be
matter where your event is. Yep.
wow.
And
The running
sometimes,
joke.
again, with the keeping the cost down for the company, you could fly your whole team out to California to the Anaheim Convention Center, or you could and take everybody out of the office and pay for all of the travel and all of that,
Hmm.
or you could hire a local person who, and especially if you work with a promo staffing agency like ours who has already worked with these brand ambassadors, we can be like, okay, this person is actually perfect for this. This
Hmm.
person has done this many times. We have a lot of repeat brand ambassadors because we treat them very fairly and we love them too. So we have connections in different cities where we're like, oh, this is our go-to person, and guess what? You're gonna get them, and they're solid. So it's good to work with an agency in that way as well because, yeah, we have a lot of brand ambassadors nationwide, but we personally interview all of them
Hmm.
and we vet them, and when we work with them, it's not like they just go out into the field without us. Like, we are behind the scenes. We have field managers who are on call 24/7. So if you have an event, even though we're East Coast, so maybe you're over in California and you have an event that goes until 10 p.m. that night. Well, even though that's later for us, we're making sure that we are available for that entire event so that the brand ambassador has support. So we're supporting all over the place. That's a lot of like an agency, that back end work that you're right. People don't always think about it because it's it's a lot. But
Hmm.
the behind the scenes work is something that we are so experienced in taking on. We have an amazing operations team. Al really built a good team, so we're ready and prepared to help with that. And it is very fun and exciting and can help anybody out.
It's funny because the running joke in our industry is nobody knows our industry exists
Hmm.
because our brand ambassadors are always representing our clients' brands. They're wearing
Yes.
their shirts, they're talking about it, they're at the branded table. No one knows that it's actually like agencies
Hmm.
hired this staff to go out on the client's behalf, on the company's behalf. So it's like, oh, wait a minute, like they don't actually work for that company. And like, nope, they work for an agency like ours.
Wow. No, I had no idea, but it makes perfect sense because you go to these events, bigger events, right? And you see there's a clear difference between some booths, not necessarily the booth itself, but the person doing the presenting and all that. There's some that you see, wow, these guys are like on top of it. And that could be it. Like, they have professional talent that's
Yep.
there doing, running the floor, right? And versus the other person who perhaps it's their first event, they just thought it would make sense to go to the event because they got an email. They're like, yeah, there's a lot of people in your market. Let's go. They go, they have no idea that other people are doing this because it's a possibility. Maybe next year they'll try it. But
Yeah, we
before,
talk to a lot of
yeah.
people who are like, well, first of all, they're like, I can't believe I am standing here for 8 hours. I need help. And I just never knew. I never did this before. I had no idea. And so that's why I'm like, oh, well, you could hire help. We could make that happen. But what you just said with like seeing a booth as professional and they're really bringing it in, that's because they're creating an experience. That the whole thing is, and that's why we use experiential marketing because marketing is marketing, but this is creating something. Why do people want to go to that booth? Why do they want to go over there? Because they're about to have an experience. Whatever it is, even if it's just talking to a really nice person who's
Hmm.
excited about the brand, it's still an experience.
Amazing. And then with Sample Finder being able to get people to go to those experiences, it just ties everything really nicely.
Yeah.
This has been great, Al, Heather. I really appreciate both of you coming on the show. I think our listeners are going to take a lot from this. And if you let us know when Sample Finder comes out, we'll link it as well because I, for one, want to try it out. I think it's going to be really fun to be able to find samples and demos and things like that easily. So I'm sure some of the listeners will have that thought as well. So where can we find it whenever it does launch, or has it launched? I'm not sure on the time
Yeah,
frames yet.
no, we will be launching a little bit later this year. Card launch is aimed for April 2026, and samplefinder.com will be the place where you can sign up. We have a newsletter right now, and you add your email address. You're going to find out when it launches, and then you will be having a download link right then and there, and we will definitely keep you in the loop as well.
Excellent. Thank you both for joining,
Thanks for
and
having us.
Thank
we'll see
you.
everyone in the next one. Thanks.